What's up, everybody? Jeremy Wray here, and I guess we're gonna take a look at my secondhand smoke part with you, and we'll walk through it and see what we got in here. Some fun stuff. Here we go. So obviously this is the opening line from Secondhand Smoke. It's at Carlsbad High School, and we had the whole team there because we had just had a Plan B team meeting about the video. We had actually come over here from Matt Hensley's house down the street. I do get a lot of questions about this, so we might as well just start way back there. As I'm skating by and before I turn the corner, there's someone doing pogos on their board over here. It was funny, you'd have some people like, what is that guy doing in the background? And who is that? And all that stuff. But that's actually the legend himself, Rodney Mullen, doing his freestyle. And yes, it was planned. We were talking about the line as we went through and just having some fun with it. So right there, you see Rodney Mullen doing his pogos and going from one foot to the next on the back truck. Shout out to Rodney. Little homage. So we had actually done this line a few times, and originally I had done more flat ground tricks. As I kept doing more flat ground, I'd have to do that tray flip at the beginning every time down the whatever 8 stair, and then do some flat ground, and sometimes I wouldn't make it all the way to the big gap. So I decided to simplify the line just to get one done and make the frontside flip at the end. And it was always a frontside flip that I was trying at the end. And then also, right here, one thing that a lot of people mention is my foot placement on the frontside flip. How my toes hanging off the heel flip side. So that's pretty much just the way I do frontside flips. I like having my whole foot on the board. I guess I use the corner to corner technique where my back foot is on the toe side corner and my front foot, even though it's hanging over, flips off the other side of the nose. Well, I have a size 11 shoe too, and that's a 7.5 inch board. Right there I'm riding a Gino's 101 Celtic board. And actually after I made this and rode away, you'll see I ride into the grass and it had just rained. So right there, as soon as I rode into the grass, it was all muddy. So that's why I'm walking away kind of light-footed, like trying not to step too hard because it was real squishy. That's Colin McKay that jumped down and is covering his face. So everybody was there from Plan B that day. Yeah, my shoes got so muddy, and I went back up to do it again because Sturt actually didn't like the way he filmed that one. On some of the earlier tries, Sturt had jumped down the gap with me. So he was like flying through the air on most of the tries. And on this one, for whatever reason, he stopped. But the way he stopped and shook the camera a little bit, he really was unhappy with the way he filmed it. I went back and tried it a few more times, but I think after even 2 more tries, my grip was all muddy and my shoes weren't gripping anymore, so it just wasn't coming up to my feet anymore. It would just slip out in the air and just, all right, I'll just take the one that we got already. Jacob Rosenberg got the original tape, and he shared some of that footage of what it looked like with Sturt jumping down the gap with me. And it was pretty rad, like the way it looks. Hopefully, at some point, we can go back and see that original tape and maybe share some of the original lines with more flat ground and stuff, the ones that didn't make it to the gap, and see how many tries it actually took. Because I'm pretty sure on the frontside flip that I made, it was like the 4th try getting to the big gap. And there were a few in between that I fell on a flat ground trick or something. I didn't make it to the gap. But from what I remember, yeah, it was the 4th try that I rode away from. And then I think there were 2 more tries after that. After this was done, you see all these people on the grass hill that were checking it out. One of them was a local kid, and he asked me for the board after. I ended up giving it to him, and turns out he still has it. So the board still exists, and it's still intact from that day. It'd be rad to see, I don't know, see it again, you know, or have it pop up. He hit me up on Instagram once and let me know that he still has the board. The line going to the big gap was actually Danny Way's idea, because we had been doing lines filming at the same spot and then making a right to go to the hole gap and hit the corner ledge. He suggested, what about doing a line and turning left and going to the big gap? So we're like, why not? Let's give it a shot. But while I was skating to the big gap, I guess Danny and someone else were following me the whole way. So like they would watch the stuff go down and then they were skating down the hallway with me. So, and then when I went to make my left to go up to the gap, they went straight. So that's in front of me on the hallway. You can see right there, that's Danny skating toward where I'm going to be at the end. So he just goes straight, and if he makes a left, he can see what's happening at the bottom. He just wanted to see the whole line go down. So that's pretty cool. It was fun having everyone there that day for that too. And then I get a lot of mentions about the Sal 23s right here, because that was a kind of a rare colorway at the time with the white upper and the black outsole. I think I only had 1 or 2 pairs of those, but I just happened to be wearing those this day. And I never rode for Etnies or S, but they gave me shoes for a while when I was in between shoe sponsors, because I had ridden for Airwalk originally. And then I don't know if I had a shoe sponsor in between, but when Plan B decided to do their own shoe brand, Mike Chernaski asked me to design the shoes and come up with the first model, and actually was able to design the whole brand from scratch. So came up with the name Dukes. We ended up doing those. So while we were getting Dukes made, I got some shoes from Don Brown, and he gave me these ones. So that's why I'm riding the Sal 23s. And they were actually really good skate shoes. They're in my top 5 for sure, those Sal 23s. They lasted a while, and they were just good board feel and everything. Let's see where else we go on this trip. So that's the Imperial double set. This footage, I don't know, we had filmed there before for the Spitfire video. We went back and got this fakie heel for the Plan B stuff. The fakie heel actually got used in a Plan B commercial for me and Ronnie Bertino being added to the team. So this had been seen at least once before. Fakie heel down a double set like that hadn't really been done yet. I think before that, the only other fakie heel down anything significant was probably Sal Barbier down the one in San Diego. It was like a big 4 block or something. And then, yeah, I got the switch backside flip on this one too, which, you know, that was kind of a rare trick at the time too, to do down anything big. Not that this double set's huge, but even just like the length, it's pretty long, so you gotta go fast and catch it right. Before that, the biggest one I had done was at the Embarcadero, the EMB7. And then we got a nollie backside flip here too. So it's one of those tricks, just if you time it right and you stay balanced over your board, you can catch it kind of like a backside flip, and it ends up working out pretty good. And this is some of the first footage of this marble triple set in downtown LA. No one had done anything there yet, and that glass building right there, right where the windows are, that's where the security is. So you could pretty much just get one try and then you're out, because they come out immediately. We went back there a few times for other video parts, especially back in the audio One Step Beyond days. We went back and got a few things at the triple set, but back then, since no one had skated it yet, I just ollied it. Now this one, am I going over the rail or no? Yeah, this was earlier on where I just ollied it. Probably the first person to ollie it, I guess. And here is one of the local spots down in San Diego. It was right by XYZ board shop. It was one of the schools. So they had just a bump to sidewalk that was pretty nice. It was a little bit uphill, so you had to, you know, really fight to get all the speed. But if you could get it, you could fly pretty far off this thing. It was a good bump. I was there with Matt Hensley and Jody Morris, and we got a photo of me doing a backside shifty over Hensley sitting in a chair. Made a rad still shot. I don't know what that ever got used in, but it got ran in a magazine. But it wasn't an ad or anything from what I remember. I think it was just a photo. That's what we got. Yeah, I got a couple tricks on this one that day. The basic kick flip and frontside flip, some of my favorites. There's some more lines from the Carlsbad High School going the other way, hitting the hole and that corner ledge. And this is stuff at Huntington High School. We used to go down there and skate a lot. And this one's back to San Diego again for a kickflip backside tail slide. Oh, that's on the Gino board again. Might have been same day or even same trip down there. I didn't do that many kickflip backside tail slides, but I liked them, and they were fun. Now we're back in SF. This is that EMB7, and there's a frontside half cab flip. Now this one, I didn't end up liking this frontside half cab flip, so I spent some time to get a perfect one. And in the end, I liked this one better because the bird flying by. There's a pigeon that flew by. I didn't like the way I landed on that one, and it caught kind of primo, but in the air. So I usually try to catch it as flat as possible. So I went back, got a perfect one, ended up not liking it because the other one looked better. So we ran the first one. Some more SF footage. It was always fun going to San Francisco. Pop shove over the brown marble bench planter. That was the backside of Wallenberg. And we got Union Square right here, going over the green bench. Now this one, I think this is Santa Rosa Park. There's a lot of other stuff you could do there, but I got kind of into this little session of going around the park, getting a lot of speed, dipping into the bowl, and just using it as a launch ramp, trying to get a kick flip and trying to see how high you can actually flip and catch a kick flip. And it was funny how just you got to flip it different. You have to hang on as long as you can and delay that flip because it levels out so late. So I was trying to just get it as high as I could and catch it. It felt weird having that much hang time on a kick flip, but it was fun to do. So this was some indoor demo, hockey rink kind of thing. And this was a hubba ledge that hadn't really been skated that much in Canada, in Vancouver, that we found. And then it was right around the corner from this place. And I don't know the name of this square. I think they call it New Spot, everyone up there. But it had a bunch of ledges and some sets of stairs in a row. Originally planned on doing something other than the frontside 360 ollie. But when I landed, I kind of ran out of time to set my feet up. So I just jumped right into whatever felt natural. And at that time, frontside 360s were pretty natural to do. Yeah, I landed with my feet a little too far forward to set up for any other kind of flip trick. So I just hopped back into front three mode and was able to get that one going. That's why I look a little disappointed right there. Because like, I had to do the 360 again. We got a couple other tricks in a row down that stair set. Those were fun to skate. And then now we're back down in San Diego at that El Sereno bump, I think it was called. But that bump to gap had been in a lot of other videos. And it was fun going to skate this thing with Sloshbach. He would actually just set up in like he had like a rolling mat that was all squishy that he'd lay down on. And sometimes if it was cold, he'd even have like a sleeping bag on him. And he would just have the camera. He'd just lay down and have the camera as low as possible, and he'd get this angle. That's why it's all filmed from the same angle. Because that was him just, posted up, nice and low, getting comfy, and letting us go to work. So we got a few tricks that day. And this one was a bump across the street from a Wendy's. So we'd go eat Wendy's, and I think he's the one that put that, the fries right there. I think they called it the Biggie bump after that because it had the Biggie fries. Oh, and that's also, I don't do frontside 180 heel flips very often. So that's a rare one for me. I like to switch it up as much as I can and try to do new stuff. So, rather than do another frontside flip, I went frontside heel. So that's a rare one for me, but fun. And backside flips every once in a while. Instead of a backside heel, I'll throw in a backside flip. This spot was up in San Francisco in, I think, Marin. We were skating with Duffy, and he took us some of his local spots. And I think that's even a school that he went to. Found out later this spot had been in like 8th Street videos and Life videos and stuff. So this spot goes way back. And even in his Plan B part, I think he did a nose blunt into it with kids cheering and stuff. So yeah, that spot had some history. So he was stoked that when we went to skate this thing, we both got a line there that day. So that was a fun little spot to check out. And this is back at Jaquan. We used to call it First Interstate because back then it was a First Interstate bank. And that was also one of the rare times I got to do a switch frontside flip in a video. I don't do those very often, but I had them down back then. So it was a fun one to get a good switch frontside flip. Always felt good because they catch so nice. They land straight. Yeah, I remember we just called it First Interstate for the longest time. And then, I remember, was it beneficial because the bank up by the blocks was called beneficial? Yeah, because we'd mostly just skate that gap to ledge part where it said First Interstate. Then we got a few tricks over this rail in the corner, this little gold rail. And rare that I'm skating at night too, but we just happened to be skating by and tried to get some tricks over the corner rail. Yeah, people had skated the little corner pocket rail, but we were trying to go over it, trying to get some tricks over it. Just something different. So here is some early hubba footage. So yeah, we had gone up to San Francisco to skate hubba and EMB and Wallenberg on those early SF trips. Hubba is one of those things that never got smaller. Every time you got there, it's like, oh man, here we go again. And I think the first trick I'd always try is a nose slide just to get the feel for the ledge. And a lot of the times it looked so high, I'd just ollie out and I'd clear it. My wheels would get on top, take one good slam. It's like, okay, now I know where it's at. And I'd go back and start trying to figure out what I wanted to do that day. So I didn't actually do that many backside 50-50s on anything. So for me to get a back 50-50 there is kind of rare. So those were like the warm-ups. Then I got the back 5.0. And then I got a pop shove it to 5.0 grind there. This was one of my first times filming with Jacob Rosenberg. And he lived up there, so we did a trip up there and got this one with him. So apparently there was a photo. I don't know if I've ever seen the photo. But yeah, the pop shove it to 5.0 grind is a trick that I used to do. But obviously never on anything that big. Every time I got into 5.0, it kept wanting to do the frontside 180 out. And I remember Scott Johnson being there that day, and he was like, oh, you should get the 180 out. That'd be sicker. I'm like, no, I'm trying to battle it and get it straight. I put in some time and finally got the straight one, but I think he was right. Like coming out 180 would have been sick. So I should have done it twice. But we got that one and moved on. And the switch nose slide. And I got the fakie tail. And that one, I think this was our second trip up to get this fakie tail, because I had tried to get it on an earlier trip and they felt good. And I think I either broke my board or split my chin or something when we were there. So I never got that one. So on a different trip, we went back. And for whatever reason, the fakie tail didn't feel the same. It kept leaning different. I wasn't able to get my balance right. So that's why I get both hands touching that ledge. And I push off it and still made it. And I don't know, I never went back and got a better one. So we just ran that in this montage with all the tricks. And then got the switch frontside nose slide, and then the back tail. Ended it with the back tail. And the back tail was probably the first trick I got on it. Because the back tail, I'm in airwalks. So that shows you how old that one is. I was actually skating up in San Francisco with the Plan B guys. I don't know if it was the same trip as that other trip with Duffy, but Duffy was here that day. And I was telling him to do it because Duffy was good at back tails. I'm like, you should back tail it, because no one had done it yet. And he just looked at me, he was like, you should do it. I'm like, I don't know how to do back tails. I'm not that good at them. But I went for it anyway, because he gave me the go ahead, you try it. So I just ollied as high as I could, turned it over, and got the back tail on. And worked out okay. But yeah, I'm in airwalks there, so that's some pretty old footage. And then Lockwood. This is another line in airwalks. So this was some of the earlier footage and early fakie tray flip. But I liked the way it flipped and ended up being a good line. That was down across the street from the ASR trade show. I think one of the times we were even maybe there for the trade show and just found this spot across the street. Yeah, sometimes I like to mix it up and just do something a little more fun. So the way these things were angled, I actually wallied this thing. I ollied it and just got my back wheels to wally up and off, give me a little boost. Just threw a heel flip over the other one after, just for fun to make it into a line. And then this is back at Carlsbad High, trying to do those lines where we went down the stairs, do some flat ground, and then hook a right. So this was the same day as the frontside flip line down the big gap, but earlier in the day, so we were going that way. And these are the Greyhound bumps down there in San Diego. Also early footage in some airwalk gym shoes. And a lot of people thought this was Jonas, because you can tell my style had changed from then to then. And then this little flat gap was something that was in some other 8th Street videos too. And to get the fakie kickflip, you just had to haul ass. Just go as fast as you can and get it. And we had gotten some other tricks there too. I think some other fakie tricks and whatever, but I don't know. The footage either got lost or got recorded over or what. But by the time we were done, I think I even got like 3 or 4 tricks there that day. But the fakie flip was the only one that made it into the video. And this one was something that Sturt shot. And he showed me in the viewfinder after I did the kickflip over this bump to bump. And this one's somewhere down in San Diego on the way up to Tumyeto. On the right-hand side, there was like a ditch, and it used to have a bridge, but they removed the bridge, and there was just these 2 cement launch ramps left over. And I had ollied it in the color video, so I went back to see if I could do anything else. But the toughest thing about this spot is there's no room to get speed. And other people had skated it and tried to like turn the corner, but you lose so much speed turning the corner. So I just had to run and set my board down and try to get on. But as soon as you set your board down, you don't have any time to set up your feet. So you just got to go however your feet land. But I was able to get the kickflip over it. I was stoked to get this too, because that was difficult for how far that thing was. But I remember Sturt showed me the footage later, and I go look through the viewfinder, and all I see is how out of focus it was. So yeah, I was looking at it at this part when it starts, and I'm looking through the little viewfinder, checking out the footage, and I'm like, oh man, it's all blurry. And he goes, oh, is it? And as I watch, and then it comes into focus, like perfect focus, and does the kickflip. And then, yeah, because he had been zooming in and zooming out with the focus set, which is something that filmers didn't do back then. So it was rad. When I watched it all the way through and it blurs back out at the end, it was like, oh, I see what you did there. That was actually really sick. This one was some really tall rail. It's another school in San Diego, and I've never skated there before or after. But yeah, this rail was like, I don't even know, like chest high. But I was able to ollie high enough to get my front wheels over and get a board slide on it. And I don't know if anybody skates this thing still, but I'd imagine it's still there. And I had wanted them to put all of my rail footage in black and white because I didn't skate that many rails in this video. And I just thought it would be cool to have all the rail stuff in black and white. And they, for whatever reason, didn't like that idea and didn't do it. But then some of the rail stuff ended up in black and white anyway, which I thought was weird. So maybe this was filmed in black and white or something. But yeah, I got a few tricks. This is Oceanside High School. I think it was like a 12 or 13. And then the standout story from this whole session was this trick right here. Because the frontside tail slide on this rail, I ended up breaking, I think, 4 boards in a row on this. Because every time I'd land and my tail would snap off. Just the amount of pressure sliding down all the way and coming to fakie, it kept breaking my tail. And I was riding those 101 Geno Celtic boards, and they had some down at the local shop. I guess we were going to XYZ at the time. And I'd go there with the broken one, set up a new one, come back, and I'd start trying the tail slide again. And it's hard just to jump straight into a tail slide. I think at the time that was the biggest rail that anyone had ever done a frontside tail slide on. It was intimidating to go just jump right into a tail slide. So I'd have to get warmed up, do like a nose slide or a board slide or whatever to get used to it, then start trying the tail slides again. And after breaking the board, going to the shop, setting it up, breaking another board, going back to the shop, setting it up. Well, by the time we were on the 3rd or 4th board, Kareem Campbell had showed up to meet us. I broke my board in front of Kareem, and he offered for me to use his board. Now, he rode like different trucks, different size wheels, and an even different size board. I think he rode a smaller board than I did, because I was still riding about 7.5, 7.75 at that time. I think the Geno Celtic was a little bit wider. That's why I liked that one. But Kareem's board was pretty small, had a very low tail, and it was already broken in too. But somehow, when I got on his board, I just went for it. I didn't do any warm-ups. I just went straight for the tail slide and ended up making it on his board. I'm glad that he showed up, or I wouldn't have been able to make it that day. So that was pretty rad. Thanks, Kareem. DC had just started, and we had been doing Dukes, but obviously they weren't done yet. So in the clip, I'm riding the Sal 23s again, and DC had just started somewhere in the DC shirt that I got from Ken Block, because I rode for Drawers Clothing at the time too. So Drawers Clothing was around, I was getting clothes from them. DC Starts, they gave me one of the shirts. I wore it just to support my homies. And then this tail slide ended up being, if not the first Dukes ad, then like the second. So it was one of the early Dukes ads, and Dukes never made white upper soles with the black sole like that. So that was a colorway we never made, and I'm wearing the DC shirt, so they like had to take out the DC logo, and I think they even touched up the black outsoles to make them white. Now we get into the Carlsbad Gap footage to end out the part. Now this one was a switch backside 180, and it looks like it's the same day as the frontside 360, because I'm riding the same board and have the same outfit on. The switch backside 180 was first try, which I was surprised that it worked out that well. Because if you know Carlsbad and this gap, you don't usually get anything first try. Even an ollie is 50-50 if you're gonna get it first try. Because you could land square on it and it'll just take it from you. The uphill landing hits so hard, but something about a switch backside 180 just gets you square over your board, and it wasn't that bad. It let me right away. But I've been there in the morning and ollied that gap and landed, and I broke my front truck. The hanger just split right in half. And I thought I just stuck, so I went up to go do another one. And then right before I was going to go for it, I looked down and saw that my whole truck was split. But that's how hard that thing hits. And then this frontside half cab here, this is the first trick I got for this video part, I think. And for those, you just go as fast as you can and make sure you hit your tail before the end and just float with it. But yeah, I was going fast on that one. And then this is the frontside 360 that people remember from this video. I land and the ground is so slick and it hits so hard that it just starts sliding. And it was like, I'm square on it. I have two choices, either to step off and do it again or just try to ride it out. So I rode it out and just 180'd into the grass. I did try a couple more that day just to get one that I thought was perfect, because I know I can do them. It's just enough tries, you'll land on one and get to ride through that. But it just hits so hard. You can tell the uphill landing, just all that pressure goes right up into you. Yeah, after trying a few more, and I just wanted to get other tricks that day too, and everyone there was like, no, that one was sick. You got to keep that one. Like, well, I can do a better one. Like, well, I ended up getting better ones at other spots, and you know, I can do frontside 360s still whenever I feel like it. So, I mean, I'll just get another one somewhere, and I did. So I let that one ride, and it's fun just having something different, you know? When your tricks are too perfect, it kind of loses personality and just is less interesting because you already expect the outcome. So stuff like that is fun to include just to show a different side of stuff. And then this was the lower angle of that same frontside flip. So at least we had, and the rare circumstance, we had two filmers that day. You know, it's hard enough just to get one. So, but there's Sturt following me on that one, and that was the frontside flip. Got a decent catch on it, but yeah, I got to float down with it. And if you catch them high and early and you come down light-footed, it'll let you ride away. But anything riding out fakie on Carlsbad was tough because it'll just stick so hard. We used that to end out the part. And the whole part was set to the soundtrack from Cream. It was White Room was the song. And we edited it to where everything took off or landed on a beat. We pretty much synced it to the music pretty well for this one. If you go back and watch the part, you'll see how well that part and the skating lines up to the music. And the way we were able to do that was to lay the music down first and then put the tricks in one by one. And back then we're using the 3/4 decks. They're like little turning toggle wheels, and you just lay in a trick, and as soon as you got it the way you wanted, you'd press save and you put in the next trick, and you have to line it up, and you couldn't make any mistakes because you couldn't go back. So you'd do them one trick at a time and then just watch it back, make sure you're good, save it, and go on to the next one. And it was a way harder way to edit, but in the end, we took more time getting it right. And that one was one of the first that I can remember that the whole part was just set to the music so well. And that was me and Jake and Paul Luna working at Mike Ternaski's house on the edit. And then we had more footage that was gonna fill out the rest of that song. But, and one of the reasons I almost didn't use that song was because Richard Mulder had used just the end part of that song in a Foundation video. So it was Richard Mulder's part in Cocktails, he used just the end section. So I almost didn't use Cream White Room for that reason. But then, you know, when we came to the part where that instrumental section of the song starts, I had enough footage to fill out the whole thing. And Jake Rosenberg was the one who was like, nope, I think we're good. Just leave it where it's at. I'm like, well, what do I do with all this other footage? It's like, well, use it for something else. Like, hold on to it. It's all good. But that part is pretty much done. I'm like, all right, then we're good. We walked away from it. And I still have the 3/4 transfer tape with all that other stuff. And I think some of the other stuff ended up getting used much later in other videos, but just sprinkled in here and there. There was probably like, you know, I don't even know, 10 more minutes of footage. Who knows? But yeah, so that's secondhand smoke.
You got to digitize the tape.
I did. I transferred it. I got it copied onto a beta tape, and now everything's been digitized. So now Jake Rosenberg has everything from my first and second transfer tape all digitized. So now I just got to hit him up. We were getting it all together because we're supposed to do an edit for Plan B because we're going to do some reissued decks with them, and we were going to put an edit together to help promote all that and just show some of the old clips. So maybe I'll get a chance to go through that and even get those raw clips from that opening line and hopefully share it with everybody. So we'll see. All right, secondhand smoke.